Good evening, everyone. It is Pilot 83 here. I hope that everybody had a really good, blessed Memorial Day weekend and Memorial Day. Spent mine with my daughter today. It was a really good time. I was with her and some family. We had a cookout and stuff. It was really good. It was really good, really relaxing. But let's go ahead and jump into this video. I'm gonna do another tutorial and kind of walk through with the plane with y'all to help get y'all guys, caught up on this plane, help better understand it. And if y'all want to follow along when I do my full flight video, this will help get you there as well. So we're going to go through starting the plane up. We're going to set up a flight plan in the FMC. Alright, we are going to go over the autopilot just a little bit. So we're going to set up the MCP, and then like I said, we're going to taxi, we're going to take off the plane, and we're going to get all the way to where we turn on the autopilot and start tracking our course. So let's go ahead and get into the plane and get things going. So first thing we're going to want to do is go to our overhead panel. We're going to want to turn on the battery. Okay. So click right here, turn battery on. Then go to your standby power box. We're going to want to click that over 2 notches to the left. Okay, from there, let's go ahead and go down to our FMC. Let's go to FS Actions. Let's go to Ground Services. Go to Ground Power. Go ahead and connect that up. Now let's go back to the overhead panel. Go ahead and click a Ground Power down. There we go. We'll go ahead and turn on our window heats. We got 2 on the left, 2 on the right. So go ahead and turn those on. Now let's go up just a tad bit. We're going to align our left and right IRS. So we're going to go 2 notches to the right. And when these have aligned, you're going to see where they pop up and say align. Just want to do it just a second. There you go. Okay, from that point, let's go back down to our FMC. Go to menu, click on FMC. We're going to go to position initialization. Okay, so in the system here, we're going to need to align the IRS. I showed you before how to do this. You just click here. You'll get the number down here. Then just click right there. Okay. And now that is set up. Now you can also put in the reference airport here. I don't ever put in the gate because it seems to always give me an issue. So you could do that as well. Okay. Let's go ahead and go down to route. We now need to put where we are and where we are heading. So I made a flight plan on SimBrief for this video right here. So I am at KPNS, like I said. So we're going to put that in our origin. So Kilo, Papa, I don't know why I always say Kilo. It's actually still in our box down there. So Kilo, Papa, November, Sierra. Click that in origin, and then destination. So for destination, I put a place I used to go to a lot when I first started simming on this simulator, and that is Key West. So we're going to put KEYW. So Kilo, Echo, Yankee, Whiskey. Now, I told you before, you don't have to have a real flight number. It's not going to affect anything. I did make a real flight number for this flight. So, I'm acting as if we are Delta Airlines, though we don't have deliveries yet. Now, you can get real flight information. I got a whole video on how you can actually copy a real flight. You can go to something like Expedia or whatever that has real flights. You can see where they're going, get the flight number, and you can literally copy all that and put it into your flight plan. I got a whole video on it. Be sure y'all guys check that out. So for Delta Airlines, so they are DL, and then this flight is 2240. So click there, then go to departures and arrivals. We now need to go to departure. So at Pensacola, there is no standard instrument departure. So in that situation, we're just going to take off and go the heading of the runway until we reach our first waypoint. I am taking off at runway 08. I'm going to select that. And then I want to click route. And after I click route, I'm then going to go to next page. So here is where we put in like transition airways. That'll be under VIA. Under 2 is where we put in our waypoints. So this flight, originally there wasn't that many waypoints, but I ended up choosing a different route that has a little more to it, just so I could kind of show y'all some things. Maybe we'll get some issues we can fix, so y'all can kind of see how I do that as well. So we're going to start. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna make sure this makes a little more sense. So actually, I'm gonna go back to departure real quick. So let's do 35. Okay, now let's go back to route. Okay, we're going to go direct to our first waypoint, which is going to be Charlie Echo Whiskey. Then direct to IDGES. When we finally get the implementation of SimBrief on the console for this plane, it's going to make things a whole lot easier, guys. I assure you, especially for some of y'all who are struggling doing this, it'll be a lot easier. But I think this is really good practice, though, because if you do have to change things in your flight, or if you want to, pretend ATC told you you need to do this, you were able to change things, on the fly, as if you were doing it in real life. And it's just really good practice, because the more you have to mainly do this, the more you learn. Okay, so our next waypoint is going to be Cairo. Not in database. Okay, so I've experienced this with a couple other flight plans I've done where there are some waypoints that are just not in this plane's database. There is a way around that. Look at your flight plan. So I look at my flight plan. I see this is literally going the same direction from my last waypoint, auto, to my next waypoint, which is Terrace. So I'm not going to stress on that. It's not going to make a difference in this flight. So instead, I'm just going to skip that. We'll go to Terrace. So we'll go auto to Terrace, and that resolves that. Okay. So I'm glad that did happen, so y'all could see that for yourselves. Heaven. Okay, so after Heaven, we have a airway that we're going on to, and our airway is going to have waypoints that are already inside of this airway that they're going to come with it that we're not going to have to manually type in. So I need to go to the next page. Also, I'm going to put that under VIA. Then I'm going to go to my next waypoint, which is Indu. And we are almost done with this. And then we will get back to starting the plane up and get this plane going. I know this video is going to be a little bit long, but it kind of has to be just to make sure we go over all of this. Okay, so then we hop on to another airway. So go ahead and put that in. And then we're going to go to Carter. Okay, we got one more. And then we got Giggy. Okay, so now I need to go back to departures and arrivals. I need to go to approach. Now, there are no standard terminal arrival routes for Key West. So, what we can do is we can select our approach and our runway. So, for this flight here, I chose 09. So we do have an approach. We have NDBA 4909. Okay, and then we're going to choose our transition. Sting. Go back to route. We're going to get an activate. Then a execute. That's going to turn purple right there. Okay, but before we continue on there, we need to, well, actually, let's go ahead and do this real fast. Let's move up. Change our range, our map here. So we get a little bit of a better glance of this. Okay, let's go to Lex. We're now going to look over our flight plan and see if there's anything that we need to fix or clean up, because we have to make a flight plan that makes sense for our flight director to accept it and for autopilot to work correctly. If you want to get the LNAV and VNAV to work, you have to have this where it is done correctly, and it's got to make sense or the plane's just not going to do it. So we'll look at it. We'll go through pages. We'll look for discontinuities. Hopefully we don't have any bypasses. We do have a discontinuity here, which this is normal because this is our last waypoint before we go to our approach, which is Sting. So in real life, this is when ATC would give you some directions on what they want you to do, and you would follow those directions. But since we are in the sim, we're just going to click on our start of approach and move it in the position of that discontinuity. We're going to execute that. Perfect. Okay, now we need to go to init reference. We need to put in this information, y'all. Zero fuel weight, click one time. You'll get the number down there, 129.0. Click again. It's also going to give you your gross fuel weight. Now, cost index. This is going to change on your flight. It could be something like 20, it could be something like 65, it could even be in the high hundreds. Okay? I normally always just do 65, and it seems to be just a good round number for this. Okay? Reserves. So reserve fuel, you're going to have to get it from your flight plan. And that is going to be on your sim brief, under plan fuel, under alternate FinRes. So for me, it is 1115. So we're going to round it. So it's going to be 11.2 reserves. Cruising altitude. I've had some questions about this. This could be done two ways, guys. So mine is 33,000 feet. So I could type in 33000 and that will work. Or you could type in FL330 and that will also work. This plane accepts both and understands both. Do not stress if it's one or the other. It will use both just fine. Cruise wind. Now you don't have to put in a cruise wind. I've done it without it and it didn't make a difference. I put it in because it's just good practice of doing things. So for me, it is wind from heading 268 at 41 knots. So okay, we got N1 limit. Right there. Okay, we got N1 limit. We're not going to worry about this N1 limit here. We don't have the formula for this. When they implement the tablet into the plane, we will then have the formulas to get this. As far as I know, you have to pay basically for anything I found online where you can get this information. They got it preset here for you. Do not worry about that. Okay, flaps. Flaps are going to be 0.5. That's basically just the standard for this plane. Center of gravity. Click it once. 23.5. Click it again. We have that. We see our trim is 5.16. So we could come right here to our trim wheel. And let's get it as close as possible to 5.16. And this keeps the plane, basically the elevators keep the plane at a good, but you can say level playing field. A good center of gravity where the plane is not going to jump up real fast on takeoff or try to hold you down. Back up here. Okay, we actually got that spot on, so that was pretty neat. Okay, so our V1 speeds, we see on there, we just click here, and we will get those. Boom. So now we just go to our MCP. So let's start setting some things up. First thing we need to set up, we set up our V2 speed and our speed indicator here. So, or auto throttle, so 152. Go ahead and set our altitude. You can set it to your first waypoint. I like to set mine to my cruise. So that would be 33,000 feet. Okay. Now, your heading, you're going to be setting that to the direction you're taking off. So I'm taking off runway 35, so that would be 350. Course will also be set to the same. Now real quick, so someone asked me earlier, what is course? So course, guys, it is the direction in which the aircraft is flying over the ground. Your heading is the direction in which the aircraft is pointing. That's just between those two. Let's go ahead and turn on our flight directors, left and right. And flight director, guys, so your flight director, it computes and displays the proper pitch and bank angles required for the plane to follow the plan. Autopilot goes off what flight director basically is computing. So flight director is very important. You want to have flight director on. We want to arm our auto throttle. We could go ahead and set a vertical speed for takeoff, just something good round number, say like 2,000 feet. Okay, that is good. Got that set. Okay, barometer. So we could get this in the sim. by asking ATC, or we could just, I'm just going to click B and get that like that. Okay. I'm going to come down here and turn on my TCAS. And let's go back to our overhead panel. Okay, so we can carry on. Okay, making sure those are set, guys. Now moving on, so we got that done. We can now turn on our APU. I'm going to go 2 notches down. We're going to hold it till it clicks up. It won't be so finicky. Turn on our left aft fuel pumps here. Let me make sure that that worked. Okay. We're going to be waiting for the blue light to appear here to let us know that our APU is ready. We're going to see this going up. Oh, there it is. Let's click these down. Turn our APU bleed on. Okay, so we are slowly getting to where we need to be. We go ahead and turn off ground power. We can go back to our FMC, turn off ground services there, so go to FS Actions, ground services, release. Overhead panel. Turn all fuel on. Turn on your hydraulics. Then come down here to engine 2. We're going to turn that onto ground. And we're going to wait for that to charge on up. Engine 2 start. We're going to wait for that click, then we're going to move on to engine number 1. Bingo, back to overhead. Engine 1 on. We're not going to listen to ATC. We're doing runway 35, guys. Alright, so now we have left and right engine on. Let's go back up to overhead panel. I'm going to turn these gens on. Turn these off. Turn our APU bleed off. Gonna turn the APU off. Turn on left and right packs. Perfect. Turn on your probe heats. Go ahead and turn on yaw damper, and we're going to set emergency exits to armed. Okay. Turn on our lights. Oh, wrong one. Turn on taxi. I'm going to set flaps to 5. Okay. We do set the runway, but I'm going to go ahead and do it here. I'm going to set auto brakes to RTO for rejected takeoff. Going to start our pushback. Okay, we're now being pushed back. Okay, we got that. Go release him. Go to legs. We got our taxi lights on. Alright guys, I went ahead and fast forward for us. Got us right here on the apron. We got it set to RTO. Our radio frequencies are already set. Just going to do it automatically. Flaps are already done. You don't want to arm the air brake in this plane. I do have an air brake issue with this plane. I think it's my, well, I do. I think it's because of my flight stick. So a lot of times it gets me a takeoff config warning. I have to mess with it. So if we get that warning, it's because of that thing. I just hate having to readjust it because every other plane works the same way besides this one. So, but we got our takeoff switch here. The Chica set. All right. If y'all did not know about that, let's go ahead, put that down. Alright, well, let's go ahead and go for it, guys. Okay, we didn't get it that time. The old takeoff config alarm. But yeah, my air brake sometimes acts a little funky in this plane, and just it doesn't want to go in the right position. I have to fight it. Okay, we're going to roll back to 15 degrees once we get our V1.
V1, rotate. Positive rate of climb.
Okay, we're going to turn on our autopilot, turn on LNAV, VNAV, altitude hold, vertical speed. Boy, it jumped on us. 2,000. Alright, we're now intercepting our flight path. Now with these speeds here, guys, now say for example ATC gave you a different altitude or a speed, you can click here, speed intervention or altitude intervention, and you can manually put that in and switch that. Well, there we go, guys. The plane is now flying itself, doing so beautifully. I hope this video was helpful for you guys. I am Pilot83. Come follow the Discord, guys. It's in the description below. So is my Instagram. Feel free to check out my Instagram. It's a more personal spot for me, where I share a lot more stuff about aviation than I do on here. But till next time, guys, enjoy y'all's night. Thank you guys for your support. Happy flying out there, guys. Peace. If you made it this far, thank you so much. If you like this video and you feel like I earned your subscription, please hit that subscribe button and that like button so you don't miss out. Until next time, guys, see you in the air.